Good afternoon. Just a little late, but we're competing with homecoming, so if you guys are interested in helping out afterwards, you can go to the gym. Welcome to the 8th Annual Biddeford Cultural and Heritage Center Hall of Fame induction ceremony. I am Susan DeShamo, board member of Biddeford Cultural and Heritage Center, and chair of the Hall of Fame committee. That's all I am, the chair. There are 100 people doing everything right behind me. So today's ceremony of 6 notable inductees will bring our total number of awarded recipients to 46. This year, the Hall of Fame committee reviewed 18 submitted biographies, and in accordance with our charter, this included 10 individuals who were also eligible to be considered from last year's list. I'm going to pause and explain this a little further for you if you don't know how this all happens. We have this program, and we advertise and tell people we're going to be having the Hall of Fame. If you wish to nominate someone, could be your mom, could be the lady next door, could be a priest, anyone, you can get the applications at the library or any other place. And you would submit an applicant's name and submit a short biography. I say short, but make sure you put as much as you can about why this person should receive recognition for what they may have done while living in Biddeford and have moved away, or have moved away and have done great things in philanthropy especially. But the roots here for them is Biddeford. After we receive these, we have a selection committee, and that's my power there. I get to choose people on the selection committee. This year, I'm trying to see where I had the names here. This year we had Rose Dion, who works in the library, Spiro Georgidis, whose uncles received an award, City Councilor Roger Beaupre, we usually have a city councilor on there, Flo Layton, and Jake Pearson. So those are our selection committee. What we do is all the applications we receive, and I think we received 27, we give each person, each selection committee person, all the bios of all 27. They go home for a couple of weeks and they read them, and they determine on a scale of 1 to 5 what they would give this person. They don't talk to each other about it or what have you. 2 weeks later, they come back and we go through that list. So these 6 were the top 6. We usually do 5, there was a tie. The charter also reads at this time that the last 5 numbers would be dropped. And the middle group of people that didn't make it but didn't get dropped are called carryovers. And they come back next year without you having to do anything. So it's fair, pretty fair. So this is what we did, and this is how we came and we arrived at the people we have honoring today. Let me tell you that past honorees included many who were chosen because of their contribution to establishing Biddeford as a world-renowned manufacturer of percale sheets. When's the last time you heard percale sheets? And blankets, or through their philanthropy. Built many churches and schools that still stand today. A recipient were brothers, the DeCary brothers, and they built a high school for boys up in Stella Maris around Hills Beach area. It turned into a high school, it turned into a college, St. Francis College. Those 2 men from Canada who made Biddeford their home. It is now the University of New England. Started with one little school. Others, in recognition of their work, we honored all the female mill workers of the late 1800s through 1960s. More recently, one family was recognized for their business, contributing to the growth of the social fabric of our community, the Durgitas brothers, 4 of them. Owners of the Wonder Bar restaurant on Washington Street, where many wedding receptions were held, First Communion breakfasts. I have a picture of me eating at the Wonder Bar after First Communion. Teens, late night hot turkey sandwiches after the dance halls closed on Saturdays. And oftentimes, at the bar, one could overhear polite political discourse. Right? Still goes on. Many of the names of past recipients found in your brochure may be familiar to you and are fine examples of people who contributed to the growth of this community or were focused on philanthropic endeavors. I want to thank everyone here supporting the people that have been chosen. I am pleased to also mention our volunteers. The Hall of Fame committee was comprised of Diane Sear, our president, her husband Bob, Vice President Alan Cassadamp, Dennis and Debbie L'Italian, and our board members, Chuck Cody, Mike Dakota, Paul Gagne, Claude Mahunda. In addition, the behind-the-scenes group preparing your luncheon right now, Diane Beaupre, Violet Hussey, and Pepe Hussein Jabbar. I also want to thank Superintendent of Schools Jeremy Ray and his Administrative Secretary Carrie Egerton, along with the great help from the audio-visual director Doug Stebbins. Honorees or representatives have each received a boutonniere, I say that wrong, red for the current inductees and white for past inductees. Each have also received a Hall of Fame specially designed pin. We thought of them this year. As chair, I will read a short bio of each 2025 inductee. The inductee or representative will receive a plaque, a framed perpetual certificate of each recipient will be placed on the Hall of Fame wall, which is located in the Biddeford City Council chambers, along with their bio. It remains there until there's no more room, and then it goes in the hallway, but it will always be there, along with pictures of former mayors. Photos right now are encouraged. I want to remind myself that after we're all done, I would like to have all the honorees today to have a picture together as a group. Let me see. When you get your plaque, you'll be asked, and I encourage you to come to the podium, and if you wish, you can make a few comments, and that's always welcoming for us also. Honored guests and their families are invited to our luncheon in the cafeteria. Following the ceremony today, banners with the recipient's photo will be placed on the sidewalk poles along Main Street and Lincoln Street. They will remain for a few months, I believe. And we return these every year. We have everybody's picture out there. So, and also, you get to go home with your poster. So, get a lot of nice little gifts. So, we shall begin. Jim Beaudry. Never called him James, I guess. When one mentions St. Francis College or the University of New England, the name of Jim Beaudry will inevitably be part of the conversation. With a 57-year relationship with the school and its students as athletic director and coach of multiple sports, he was loved by all his athletes, not only because of his knowledge of sports, but also because of his life lessons that he conveyed to them every day. His coaching success and his devotion to helping athletes reach their full potential led to Jim being inducted in the Maine Baseball Hall of Fame in 2001, the New England Basketball Hall of Fame in 2013, and the Maine Sports Legends Hall of Fame. In 2018, he was also enshrined into the Maine Basketball Hall of Fame in the Legions of the Game category. In 2005, he was inducted as a charter member of the UNE Athletics Hall of Fame. And in 2021, the UNE Campus Center Gymnasium is in his honor. I have to take a deep breath. I worked for Mr. Beaudry and worked study in college, so wasn't I the lucky girl? So, of all the sports that he coached, Jim loved basketball the most. While his wife and children were most important, his teams were a second family to him. They are. He was not simply a seasonal, ordinary mentor. He fostered and nurtured lifelong relationships with his athletes through his example and teaching. He saved a number of boys. It was not unusual for players long after graduation to stop by and visit Coach in Biddeford Pool. He was an inspirational father figure to many of them, a man who taught lessons in faith, family, integrity, and humility. I haven't used the word jazz yet. Yes, he loved jazz. His coaching successes pale in comparison to his compassion, joy, and character that he presented every day to people who entered his world. Jim was loved and respected throughout the Biddeford community. A great storyteller with a wonderful sense of humor, Jim always had a captive audience. If you want to go to some of the reunions, we still talk about it. He looked for the good in people and was always willing to lend a helping hand. He could talk and befriend anyone, as his natural demeanor and tone always conveyed kindness and humility. It was said that Jim Beaudry, quote, never met a stranger. It was also said that Coach was a simple man who did extraordinary things. Because of the respect and love that Biddeford residents had for Jim Beaudry, in August 2012, our former mayor, Alan Casavan, announced that August 19th, his birthday, will forever be known as the Coach Beaudry Day in the city. Wow. And so, this is Jim Beaudry. I'd like to, welcome his son, Jim Beaudry.
Everyone at the Biddeford Cultural and Historical Center for all that they do for the community. You know, in this event in particular, I know that they have dedicated many hours to help preserve and honor all of Biddeford's rich tradition and history. Additionally, you know, we would like to thank, or would like to congratulate all the nominees, past and present, and their families, for all the sacrifice and so much that they have done to make this city what it is. Dad loved Biddeford, and in return, whenever he needed it, Biddeford loved him back. That's what great communities do. He would truly be honored and humbled to accept this, and on behalf of our entire family, we are as well. Our father believed in treating everyone as you would like to be treated, to respect and love everyone, despite of the differences, and this message resonates now probably more than ever. He never met a stranger, as Sue said, but rather someone he just did not know yet. He was a builder of friendships and relationships and would want us all to continue down that path. I imagine that if you were here, his message to everybody going forward would be to engage with each other, be kind to each other, and spread love, not division. Thank you for everything. Thank you for coming, and good luck to all the others.
Qano, Bilishti. Beginning in the 1880s, the pepper manufacturing company began recruiting Albanian men to work as designers and dyers in the Biddeford mill. Immigrants for decades performed the bulk of the labor in the mills, and Albanian men were specifically recruited because of their historical and expert knowledge of fabrics. Most of these men came alone and into a world that was religiously and culturally different from their homeland. Because of that void, there remained a need to maintain aspects of their cultural identity. On April 5th, 1915, the National Mohammedan Religious Society of the United States was founded in Biddeford. Depending where you read, but I've seen it written many places, the first Muslim church or mosque was here in Biddeford. The building is still standing. If I could figure it out. I was going to say it's across the street where the Lickets used to be, right? So you have to be old to remember that. Excuse me. Was part of the efforts of Muslim sect to create societies according to their religious affiliations. Qano Bilishti was elected as the first chairman of the society, and a mosque was established in the counting house. You might know that as the counting house of the pepper mill on Main Street. So it really belonged to the mill, and as I hear it, that there was a section, it wasn't only a mosque, but they had a room so they could practice their religious duties. But I think there was also a Christian area that they also had. But I think I'm just supposing that the big managers of the pepper may have accommodated their best people. The mosque was the first of its kind in Maine, and it is very possible that it's also the first mosque in the United States. As some of the Albanians were Orthodox Christian, the counting house space was simply used for Christians for services. The mosque served as a significant cultural institution upon its creation, as it offered Muslim immigrants a safe place to practice their religion. It also provided them with a connection to their Albanian way of life. While information specifically on Qano is sparse, he is representative of the Albanian mill workers, particularly those of the Muslim faith, who called Biddeford their home and who provided valuable expertise to pepper manufacturing. They became part of the community in the American way of life. When the Spanish flu tragically claimed the lives of the Muslim immigrants, the Muslim community purchased a large plot in Woodlawn Cemetery so that the deceased could be buried together. They were buried facing east towards Mecca, and some of the headstones are carved with a star and a crescent, symbolic of Islam, and you can still see them there. Local history is generally silent on the lives of these Albanian Muslim newcomers. They are not listed in city directories or tax records, nor ever mentioned in local papers. Some perhaps moved back to Albania. Some may have married outside of their ethnicity, while some may have assimilated into the local culture. Though history is vague, the Albanians, like all immigrants who worked in Biddeford, were contributors to the emerging industrial power of the textile industry. It was difficult and tedious work, but they worked those jobs to improve their quality of life. For that, they deserve our admiration. To accept for Qano, we have today Flo Hoxha, who we discovered is an Albanian gentleman who will say a few words about his background. Thank you.
Thank you guys. Congratulations to everybody else. Just wanted to touch a few, kind of tell a few stories about Albanian people in Maine and kind of how this all ties in. But Albania is the only country in the world where we have all three religions and everybody kind of coexists, and we kind of put our nationality in front of our religion. So I'm not surprised that they shared a room back in the 1800s to practice all the religions there. But Albania was occupied by the Ottoman Empire for 500 years, up to 1912. So the fact that these guys somehow made it to America is astonishing, because it was just very oppressed, and the Ottoman Empire kind of invaded a lot of that region and oppressed a lot of people there. So I'm still kind of surprised how they made it this far. But more recently, in the 70s, 80s, we had some Albanian immigrants here in Maine. Very few, like maybe 10, 15 families, and they came here to escape communism. And then, more recently than that, in the 1998, when the Kosovo War happened, we probably had about 20 families that came here during the Kosovo War, including myself, and a lot of them have stayed since 98, 99 till now, made their home. And when we first came here, like in the early, like I said, 2000s, once we found these graves that are in Biddeford, it kind of made this whole, like Maine was so far, and everybody's heard of New York City and all these places in America, but Maine was just a place that we didn't know about. But this kind of made it more home for us, because we found out that there was these Albanians that came here in the late 1800s, early 1900s. So yeah, it was a good tie to be in this land that was new, but also had these ties to the Albanian community. So thank you again for all this honor, and I'll definitely share this with other people from the Albanian community here, and make sure they know. And we've told everybody, so every time a Albanian that comes to Maine for visits, we always show the graves and stuff. It's very interesting. Thank you.
Finding Hoxha was a gift. We really, how little we know about Muslims and what have you. There are different sects, and we kept reaching the wrong sect. So it was great. Risa from, is it the Daya Library? He's involved in, found you, and I appreciate your comments also. Thank you very much. Lucien, Babe Dutremble. I had to stop and think, what is Mr. Dutremble's first name? Right? Babe. A legendary politician, Lucien Babe Dutremble was devoted to helping people. Earning his nickname while playing baseball because of his hitting skills. Babe and his family have been members of the Biddeford Franco community since the 1920s. In 1932, his father, a local policeman, was murdered while pulling over a stolen car. Lucien witnessed his father dying on the street, and that shattered moment shaped Lucien's life. While his family was poor, his mother's personality and character provided the strength to survive. Makes me laugh, because she is. She worked in the mill, taking time off to nurture the family. Babe always remembered his family's struggles, and those memories fueled his lifelong desire to help those who were also struggling. Because of his family's poverty and his father's death, attending school was difficult. At the age of 7, he began delivering newspapers, and as a young teen, because of the need to help support his family, he made the decision to sacrifice his schooling. His strong value of education never wavered, and he later proudly earned his high school diploma through the adult ed program. Though he owned and operated Dutremble Brothers Market for 25 years, it was in public service that he prospered. That's amazing, what he's gone through. His career in government spanned an amazing 6 decades. Decades, not years. Beginning in 1958, when he was elected as York County Commissioner. He later served 3 terms as mayor and 3 terms as a city councilor. He served 16 years as a legislator and 19 years as county commissioner. He never lost an election, and he never forgot his roots. Babe's character and honesty were critical to his career in government. He always believed that the key to political success was to be the same person while in office as you are in everyday life. To him, treating others as how one would want to be treated was essential. It's a common theme here. I think Mr. Beaudry's the same way, right? The community always responded to his core beliefs. Residents of Biddeford viewed Babe as a man who worked hard, who possessed values that were universally admired in the community. Franco heritage, hardworking, and honest. Babe's legacy to Biddeford and its citizens is one of progress and love of community. His family molded him into the man that he became, and under his leadership, the city progressed and modernized. There is no doubt that Biddeford became a better place in which to live because of Babe Dutremble. Accepting his plaque is his son, Duke. I never called him Duke, it was Dennis in high school, but Duke Dutremble will join us. Thank you.
With a little help from my friends. I want to thank the Biddeford Cultural Heritage Center and all the members for what they do in recognizing Biddeford residents who have made contributions to our city and to the state of Maine. And
think it's a great honor for those who you select, and I think it's an honor for everybody. And the people that have been chosen today, I knew Jim Beaudry for a long time. I actually played for him one time when I was a coach. He asked a couple of us to go play against the teams he was playing. He was a great man. I knew Zaitlin. It's just the past recipients deserve the honors that they have. He did such a good job at the bio that I'm going to need these 22 pages together. But I do want to, the first thing I wanted to do is, before I came here today, I went to the Cannon Corner. I don't know how many of you know what the Cannon Corner is. It's where my father had his grocery store across from St. Joseph Parish Hall. And about 10 years ago, they dedicated to him part of that Cannon Park, Cannon Corner. And the inscription, I went and took a picture of it because I think this is why this man did so much for the people of the city. It says we honor Lucien Dutremble for his dedication to the citizens of Biddeford. But this next one, as the owner of a grocery store on the corner of Green and Crescent Streets, he served as a mentor, advisor, and coach in a positive role for the youth of Biddeford. And I think that, if anything, shows my father what he was, is that what he did for the young. I have something I'm going to say that there was a lot about his work as a public servant. I want to talk about the man. I just want you to imagine a 9-year-old boy, if you can, leaving the Biddeford Soccer Journal building, which is, at that time, was located across from City Hall. And I want you to imagine him, he's walking up the corner of Crescent and Jefferson. And at the same time, a man had just visited St. Joseph's Church, as he did every day before going to work. And many times during their walk back from his walk towards delivering his papers, and this man in particular route to his work at the Biddeford Police Department, they would meet and sometimes talk. On that particular day, on April 8, 1932, my father was with his friend, still walking up, delivering his newspapers, and he heard the shots. And he looked out, and he saw a car being driven away, and a man on the running board, and he saw the man fall. He had an idea of who it was, but he ran up to him, up the street, towards South Street, and looked down, and a lot of people had gathered, because there used to be a busy area back then. He looked down, and he saw his father. When I talked to my dad about this, when I wrote a story about it in 1982, 50 years, I had never really talked to him about it before. We were very quiet. The whole family was very quiet about it. But he said to me, and first time I ever saw tears in my father's eyes, he said to me, I looked down, and he looked up at me and smiled. He said, I'd never forget that smile. And a few minutes later, he had passed away. So what happened to him and his 11 siblings, my grandmother Rosanna, they worked hard after that. They had to live without their father and her husband. His childhood, as was mentioned in the bio, he had to quit school. My father loved sports. He loved it, and he was really good at it, by the name Babe signifies. I think the plaque honoring him and what he's done for youth says it all. He has done it for the youth in the area. He created clubs for him, for teenagers. It's called the Blue Diamond Club. He was part of the creation of West Biddeford Little League. He was one of the founders. He just gave and gave to the young as much as he can, as much as he could. The family struggled and lived and grew and developed a lot of qualities, and they were good qualities. And my father knew the importance of being compassionate, the importance of family, the importance of being humble. He was very steadfast. Some people call them stubborn sometimes. He was steadfast in his beliefs, but he was always fair. He was always fair. His moral compass was irreproachable and sincere. And he passed that along with my mother, Cecile Dutremble, passed those attributes on to their sons. My brother Don, who passed away, myself, Richard, Larry, Al, and we took those qualities that my father had, and we went out and did our own things. But always what he taught us and what she taught us in mind. They were great qualities. Great qualities. My father was a proud Franco-American who believed in strong civic duty. He believed in people being involved, and he believed in helping people as much as he could. And I think he will always be remembered as that. So, yes, we know he never lost an election, and we're not surprised by it, because he was a great man. Again, thank you to everybody in the community.
Glad you mentioned all the brothers and sisters, and they have, if your father was still alive, he'd be proud of each and every one of you. Especially the Senate President, the son. They still talk about him. If you say you're from Biddeford and Augusta, you know Babe? No, he died, you know. Thank you. This is a name we know. We've heard it growing up. Good people. Harold Osher. I was talking to his daughter. I said, okay, there's a debate, Osher or Osher? It's Osher. As a son in a remarkable, intelligent family, Harold Osher crafted a thoughtful path of caring and giving throughout the state of Maine. By trade, he was a superb cardiologist, but his legacy is rooted in philanthropy and his unique donation of his massive collection of rare maps and documents. You've probably heard about this. Harold's parents were Lithuanian and Russian immigrants who settled in Biddeford. They saw America as a land of opportunity and believed that if you received a good education and worked hard, you could become successful. They also believed that the achievement of success implied giving back, because in doing so, you would get more than you gave. Giving was a fundamental part of their lives. A superb student, that's an understatement, a superb student. Harold graduated from Biddeford High School at the age of 16, from Beaudry College at age 19, and from Boston University Medical School at the age of 23. In 1953, he joined the cardiology department at Maine Medical Center, serving as director for 16 years, and he was instrumental in guiding the hospital into a leading center for cardiology. Having been interested in maps since he was a child, Harold's philanthropy centered around the Osher Map Library at the University of Southern Maine. I encourage you to go. Along with his wife, Peggy, the Oshers amassed over the years a collection of thousands of maps, atlases, globes, charts, and other historic items. An initial donation was made to the university in 1989, with the library formally opening in 1994. In 2018, the Oshers donated an additional collection to USM that was valued, it's not a typo, that was valued at $100 million. The largest gift in the university's history. One map from 1475 features the Holy Land, and it is estimated that the library today houses roughly 500,000 cartographic items. Osher's personal love of Southern Maine was a major factor for the library being housed in Portland, as it allowed the public and students the opportunity to utilize and view the amazing artifacts and documents of the collection. Importantly, not only did they donate artifacts and documents, but they provided needed funds to support the collection. Harold and Peggy also supported the Portland Museum of Art, and in the early 1990s, the Oshers donated their collection of Winslow Homer graphics to the museum. I'd love to have gone to their house and check that out. They did not collect things for their private enjoyment, but instead collecting them for the benefit of everyone. The Osher family is renowned for its philanthropy across the country. It's the family, not just one individual. And Harold and Peggy contributed to that legacy through their historical, cultural, and educational giving. Improving the quality of life was a centerpiece in Harold's world. He was truly a remarkable man. I'd like to invite his daughter, Judy Osher, to join us.
That was such a lovely introduction to my dad, and I think covered a lot of who he is. You would have been thrilled to be here today and to have been acknowledged by the Biddeford Cultural and Heritage Center. He was a very proud graduate of Biddeford High School, and he used to tell one particular story. There was someone in his class who would pick on him, and my dad formed an unlikely friendship with the captain of the football team. They were good buddies, and the captain of the football team was not going to let anyone pick on his friend, Harold Osher. And in return, the captain of the football team was having a hard time with his studies and getting through his classes. So they had a little informal deal. His friend would protect him, and Harold would tutor him. And it went very well, and he likes that story. As he loved Maine, he lived almost all his life in Maine. He went to Biddeford High School, he went to Bowdoin College, and he only left Maine to do his medical training. And initially he thought he wanted to be a professor and was offered the opportunity to do that in Boston. And it was a very exciting time in medicine where penicillin was just being developed, and he thought he would do research and teach there. But then he met my mother, the love of his life, Peggy Osher, who perhaps, well, he loved his whole family, but he loved Peggy more than he loved Maine, but he loved Maine a lot. And when they were deciding where to raise a family, my father thought about his career goals, but he thought about his family, and he and my mother decided that Maine was really the only place they wanted to raise a family. He thought he was sacrificing his career to some degree because cardiology at the Maine Medical Center at that time was not very developed. But by the end of his life, he would say, "Oh, was I wrong?" It was such an exciting time there. He introduced echocardiography. He loved Biddeford, but he loved all of Maine, and he learned to fly, and he would fly to remote parts of Maine to bring cardiology services that weren't available at that time to those areas. And that was really important to him. After his career in medicine, or I would say that shortly before he wound up his career at the Maine Medical Center, my mother was concerned about what he would do after his career because he loved it so much and was so invested and involved. And they were on a trip in London, and they had gone to a museum, to an exhibition at a museum in London of maps, and they were wowed. So they went to the street in London where there were many map shops, and they walked into one, and my dad said, "Do you have any maps of Maine?" And the shop owner said, "Oh yes," and he went and he got multiple maps of Maine. Excuse me. My father was enamored of one in particular, and my mother said, "Buy it." And he said, "I'm not gonna buy it." And she said, "Well, if you don't buy it, I'm gonna buy it for you." And that began his second career, which was collecting maps, and that was something he and my mother very much did together. She had spent many years involved in the Portland Museum of Art and was very artistic herself and had a very good eye for color. And my dad would keep these little cards, these little index cards of every map he had seen, where he saw it, what edition it was, and what the coloration of it was. But he always consulted my mother's eye and her advice before he thought a map. And they were fortunate to collect at the time they did, when maps were quite much more available than they are today. And they appreciated them for their artistic quality, for the geography, the history, just for the many, many aspects of maps. And when it came time to think about what they wanted to do with their map collection, it was very clear to them they wanted it to be in Maine. And they wanted it to be at the University of Southern Maine because they didn't want these beautiful items to sit in a vault somewhere. They wanted the people of Maine to be able to enjoy them. They wanted them to be used in classes at the university, and they wanted children from around the state to learn about Maine maps and Maine and their hometowns and get excited about them. So for them, there was really one choice, which was the University of Maine, and it was also notable that this is a public institution. It's not a Harvard, it's not a Yale, although it was a very fine collection. He wanted it to be used by everyone, and they now also have a wonderful website, so people around the world can access their treasures as well. So my dad loved Maine, but he especially loved Biddeford. And he died in December of 23, 3 weeks shy of his 100th birthday. And to the end, his favorite outing was for one of his children to bring him to Biddeford. He loved to come here, he loved to see where his grandparents' hardware store was, Biddeford High School, and just feel so at home here. And so it's a great honor for him to be honored by the Biddeford Cultural and Heritage Center. And I know he would be thrilled. So on behalf of my dad, I thank you very much for this honor. And I'm very happy for him that he was recognized here, because I know what it would mean to him. Thank you.
his family. You look in the back of your brochure, you'll see a name, Bernard Osher, was also a recipient, his brother. So, when I think back, we probably should have put Peggy's name in there too. So, Delilah Poupore. Delilah Poupore's fingerprints in Biddeford's downtown development are everywhere, as her energy and creativity have been a catalyst for the renaissance of the main street. I think I've heard that term before, renaissance. Her infectious smile, warm personality, and genuine interest and concern for the well-being of others have made her a wonderful ambassador and advocate for the city. Delilah's sincerity and compassion in listening to the life stories of others has led her to harness our community's most basic strengths, valuing the people who built this place, moving beyond the stigma of manufacturing decline, and creating a welcoming environment for the future. Through her efforts, pride in community has been rejuvenated, and it's still going. Through Delilah's leadership as the director of the Heart of Biddeford, the city's downtown has soared to new heights as it has become a magnet for investment and community energy. Through programs like the Main Street Challenge, new businesses opened and succeeded, and flowers, holiday lights enrich and enhance our sense of place. Today, because of all the excitement and buzz, residents brag about living here. Others have noticed. In 2021, because of Biddeford's downtown evolution, the Heart of Biddeford received the Great American Main Street Award by the organization Main Street America. And the city was recognized as a role model for other communities to emulate. Some of you know that I served some time in the state senate, and it was with pride, and I look at Delilah when you walk into the Senate chambers and they go, what the heck's going on in Biddeford? That was Lewiston, Waterville, Augusta, and so you were a big part of that. Community engagement has blossomed with Delilah's nurturing, as she believes deeply that the ongoing transformation of the downtown is linked to people believing in its possibilities. We all need that. In an age where people too often find social interaction only through social media, Heart of Biddeford has engaged people through events like concerts and festivals, building bridges between people no matter what class, ethnicity, or religion. With hundreds of volunteers and partners, Delilah and Heart of Biddeford have created avenues for people to find commonality and friendships within the city. In mentioning concerts and festivals, recently we had Oktoberfest, and before that we had River Jam. I've been going to them, and just recently I did exactly what Delilah was hoping that most people would do. At Oktoberfest, you taste, it's not lemonade, it's what, beer? Yeah. And I tried a gluten-free beer at the Lucky Pigeon. And because of that, they're getting my money. So, see, I wouldn't have done that without you again. Despite her many successes, Delilah will always deflect any attempt to credit her for what has occurred. She is a true leader, leading by example and giving credit where credit is due. She's a role model, influencing others to become involved in the community and in improving quality of life. Biddeford has been incredibly fortunate that Delilah Poupore chose to live and work here and share her talents with all of us. The city is no longer a story about loss and decline. It is about rebirth, growth, and a bright tomorrow. I am proud to introduce Delilah Poupore.
Thank you so much. Thanks to the whole BCHC team and the committee that did this, and for all the work that you do to share so many, such a diversity of stories of Biddeford's people. So thank you for that. And I'm extra proud when I walk through the downtown lately, and I'm often admiring, there's Rita Riley, your Paul Gagne, and it's a real honor to get to be added to that list of people who've contributed to Biddeford. This morning on Facebook, somebody said, if I didn't know better, I'd say Delilah was born here. And that's probably the highest compliment that I could get, that I've been welcomed that much, and love to get to contribute to this community. So thank you for this honor.
Zaitlin, a grandson of immigrants from Russia. Boy, Russia was different in those days. Sam Zaitlin was a Renaissance man. He was a thinker, a doer, a businessman, a civic leader, and walking think tank. Never seeking the limelight, he did his good work in the community silently, without fanfare. Though a lifelong learner, Sam's education was abruptly halted when his father became ill, and he had to assume responsibility of Zaitlin and Sons, the family business. In 2002, without a college degree, he earned his master's from the John F. Kennedy School of Government at Harvard University. He loved conversing with people, getting to know their history and their interests. He used what they said to mesh or alter his thoughts and perceptions. He delighted in analytical thinking and conversations, always with the goal of discovering solutions to problems. Boy, this is really Sam. Sam was particularly concerned with the quality of life of others. During one economic slowdown, he realized that people in the city were having difficulty heating their homes. He launched a heating assistance program using his political capital and connections to solicit funds for those in need. He was also involved in advancing the city's recycling program, working towards the closure of Maine Energy, and even attempting to end Biddeford's penchant for having a divisive and outlandish political theater. Sam believed that everyone has a role in improving the quality of life of others, and that role should be so innate and so common that there should be no need for public adulation for simply doing what is right. A visionary who saw early potential in the redevelopment of the mill buildings, Sam for 20 years was active in the investment and rehabilitation of the mill district, significantly seeing energy production and usage as critical elements in the future. He formed a startup energy storage company that prompted heating and cooling options. Sam loved politics, and in 1974 he was elected as mayor of Saco. Yeah, he crossed the bridge. After a campaign against, quote, the good old boyism that plagues city government. He remains the youngest mayor in Saco's history and the only one of Jewish ethnicity. In Biddeford and in state government, Sam was always building bridges to improve the efficiencies or improve government. He was chairman of the Board of Environmental Protection in the Maine Turnpike Authority. Guess he could never hold a job. Always concerned about good government and not very partisan. Sam was at ease with Democrats and Republicans, and he used his connections to provide better lives for the people of Maine. While most comfortable and happy on a motorcycle, Sam's ultimate joy was cultivating friends and creating a better life for others. He certainly made this world a better place. And I would like to welcome, who will be Danielle Slater. Where is she? There she is.
Too emotional to say anything, and I think that's going to happen. So I've invited Bonnie up to, she knew Sam as well as anybody else. I met Sam in I'm from Winnipeg, Manitoba, that needs to start. I met Sam at Expo 67 in Montreal, and guess who had to move? We were only married 8 years. But we remained lifelong friends, and some of that speaks to Sam's character. I think we just stayed good friends. And then I worked for him for 18 years at Zaitlin and Sons. I learned a lot about Sam here, actually, because I had moved to Portland after we got divorced, so I wasn't so involved in his life. But I learned some things about Sam today, and I guess they just go to show Sam was one of the good guys, and I'm so happy for him that he's recognized, because he felt quite often that he wasn't really successful. So I'm so glad that I think he's watching, looking down on us. So thank you very much for this.
I just want to add that when I met Sam back in the 80s, I didn't know who he was, and I met him through Alan Casavet, actually, and the reason we met was because he was so ingrained in what was happening politically, and he wanted to work on my campaign, and I thought, well, why? You don't even know me. Why would you do that? And he said, because I've studied you, and I know what you have to offer. And I watched him do that, not only for me, but for others behind me. General Nutting. I can still remember him reaching out to General Nutting, asking him to meet with us for lunch. And General Nutting said, guys, I'm a Republican. And we all looked at him and said, who cares? We just want what's best for Biddeford. And that was the way Sam's mind worked. He was always at the forefront, looking for ways that he could spur some kind of resolution to any problem that was being faced by the people of Biddeford. He was a tremendous advocate. And it is truly an honor to be able to be here, to have been his friend for so long, and to have been here when Danielle asked me. I said, Danielle, you're going to do just great, but I certainly am proud to stand behind you and with you for this. Thank you all so much.
I started late, not that late. This concludes, I was going to say performance, it's our ceremony. This was probably one of the most moving programs, since it's my second year anyway. But, I would like to, please, we worked very hard to get a luncheon going. Don't you dare walk out of here. No, I mean, there's a few, you know, it's the people who volunteered to do it. I never volunteered for Heart of Biddeford except for last week, and I got a T-shirt. It'll be the second time I go. My son's wearing it now, so. So again, it was lovely. I hope you get a sense of really what under the belly of Biddeford is all about. It's families, it's connections, and it's working hard. And yes, I will say there's a little bit of Franco in there, but we welcome everybody. It was obvious with the people that have been chosen. We represent the globe. Again, thank you. And those of you, would you like to have, I'd like to have the people that came up have a picture together.
And you don't have to climb the stairs. If you want, just line up on the
Okay. Oh, excuse me. I was looking for you. I was looking at you. Please, Diane.
Okay. Hi, I'm Diane Sear, and I'm president of the I'm not a big public speaker, as you all know, but I did want to say a few words, and I know you were looking. I was hiding behind the door. So I want to thank you all for coming. We do this once a year, and it's so important, and it just goes to show how we come from such a great community, and we have so much to offer, either here and the world at large, I mean everywhere, and it's just amazing, the people that we have. I do want to thank you all for coming, but I especially want to thank Susan as our chair, because this is a very difficult job. And also all the people that work behind the scenes, Debbie and Dennis, who have run the program the prior 6 years, are still here. And we have the school system, Doug, and the schools, and all our amazing volunteers that are sitting there doing the slideshow, and Alan and everyone. So thank you all. And let's not forget the people cooking and doing the food out back. So there's a lot of behind the scenes that goes on. It is people like you and all of them who make our community special. So one of the things I wanted to do is have all the Hall of Fame members and those representing them just stand up so we can give you a round of applause. I know that some have left, but please, all of you, former and current, because we're all members. Thank you. I did want to especially recognize Dr. Kleeman, because Dr. Kleeman was inducted several years ago, wasn't able to attend, and we actually worked together as a former nurse years ago. So I want to thank you for coming here today, and he's back in the area for a while, let me know. So, yes, we are having a special luncheon, but what we would like to do is get a big group picture first, if you can come down here, of the new inductees. Then I would like the whole Hall of Fame, all of you, to join in, and then little group pictures, and then we will go have a little luncheon. So thank you, everyone. See you next year.